Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to the Judiciary Committee hearing and decision-making agendas this morning, Tuesday, March 2. Let me go through the required announcements now that we're doing so much stuff remotely. My name is Carl Rhodes. I'm chair of the committee. This Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream will include two agendas: the 9:30 JDC agenda hearing SB 1260 and the 9:35 JDC agenda, which is a decision-making only agenda. Members of the committee are, including myself, are Vice Chair Jarrett Keokalole, Senator Laura Casio, Senator Mike Gabbard, Senator Chris Lee, Senator Donna Mercado Kim, and Senator Kurt Favela, all of whom are either here or will probably be here shortly. This meeting, including the audio and video remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Thursday, March 4 at 10 a.m. And that will be on video conference too, and a public notice will be posted on the legislator's website. For the people testifying remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until it is your turn to testify. There is a 2-minute limit per testifier, but if you can hang around for questions, that would be great. Members often have them for you at the end of everybody's testimony. If there's a temporary technical glitch during your turn to testify, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has already received your written testimony, and we will try to come back to you and get you to be able to testify if we can. So I'll be reading a list of people who submitted written testimony for each measure. For the only measure, we apologize if the closed captioning doesn't accurately describe the names. If you're interested in reviewing the written testimony, please go to the legislature's website, www.capital.hawaii.gov, and you'll find a link to testimony on the status page for the measure you're interested in. And I believe that's it. So we'll go ahead and move on to the bill. The 9:30 agenda has one bill to be heard. That's SB 1260. This eliminates the use of monetary bail and requires defendants to be released on their own recognizance for traffic offenses, violations, non-violent petty misdemeanors, misdemeanors, with certain exceptions, creates a rebuttable presumption regarding release and detention for certain offenses, and specifies circumstances in which these presumptions apply. First up today, we have Landon Murata, Deputy Attorney General, in opposition. William Bagasol, Office of Public Defender, who is here. Good morning.
Good morning, William Bagasol, Deputy Public Defender. Thank you for allowing me to testify on this bill. Quickly, the Office of the Public Defender strongly supports Senate Bill 1260. It eliminates, of course, as you know, the use of money bail for low-level, non-violent offenders, as well as creates a rebuttable presumptions, which are key components that were missing in the Act 179 of 2019. Those two components were critical pieces of the recommendations that were really sorely needed in order to implement a more efficient, fair pretrial bail system. So we strongly support these measures. I realize I don't have too much time, but I wanted to spend some time on the second part of the bill relating to serious crimes, because it may not be that intuitive when we take a look at our recommendation number 1. When we take a look at how we read serious crimes and the presumptions that were suggested, the current law requires a finding of 4 different components of serious risk. That's required in order to hold somebody or deny them, to hold them without bail. So we still want that to still be the case, but we want it to be clear because it could be misinterpreted to read that certain classes of crimes, such as Class A or violent Class B felonies, that you don't need to establish the those four criteria. So that's the main thing that we wanted to suggest in our recommendation number 1, is that whenever you wanted to deny without bail, you still need to establish that those either one or more of those criteria for a serious crime, and that you still can hold somebody without bail.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next is Miley Maldonado for Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Good morning.
Hello, my chair, members. Thank you for allowing me to testify in strong support of this measure. As a member of the HCR 134 task force, I also remember that these were the missing pieces in the pretrial reform bill that went forward, Act 179 of 2019. So we're excited to see them come back. We see this as a very prudent reform measure to reduce unnecessary pretrial incarceration, which has been proven to be quite dangerous lately. So thank you so much for hearing this measure, and mahalo.
Thank you. Next is Ronnie Barra, testifying for Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. Judge Barra, are you here? I do not see him. They're in support. Mark Tom. Oh, here he is.
I am.
Hello, Judge.
Hi,
go ahead.
Chair Rhodes, thank you for allowing me to appear. On behalf of the commission, we strongly support this bill. It is to address one of the biggest population in our prison overcrowding, that is pretrial detainees. It's a matter of fairness, and it's a matter of doing the right thing in reducing the people who are not convicted yet being incarcerated unfairly. So we strongly support this bill. I incorporate my testimony and others who are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. We may have questions at the end, so if you can hang around for a few minutes, that would be great. Next up, we have Mark Tom for Department of the Prosecuting Attorney in opposition. Next is Justin Kohler he is the prosecutor for Kauai. He is the prosecuting attorney for Kauai County. He's in support. Felicia Cowden, Council Services Division, council member for County Clerk of Kauai, in support. Nikos Leverance, Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center. He has signed up, but I don't see him. He's in support. Mandy Fernandez, Policy Director, ACLU of Hawaii. I do see her. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Mandy Fernandez on behalf of the American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii. We'll stand on our written comments that we submitted on this measure, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Next is Sandy Ma for Common Cause with comments. Louis Erdischek, Hawaii Disability Rights Center, also with comments. Joseph Cohn, MD for We Are One Inc. in support. Gary Hooser, Pono Hawaii Initiative Executive Director in support. Will Karen, Board President and Secretary, Young Progressives Demanding Action in support. Chris Cofield, EMU Alliance in support. Kat Brady, Community Alliance on Prisons in support. Dan Kochi, United Public Workers Asked Me, Local 646 UPW in support. Wendy Hudson for Hudson Law LLC in support. Hawaii Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers in support. Carrie Ann Shirota did sign up. I don't see Miss Shirota here. Well, she was also in support. James Lindblad also signed up. I see the name. Mr. Lindblad, are you here? There you are. Good morning. I can't hear you though. You don't seem to be mute, but I can't hear anything. Okay. I'll come back to you. I'll go on, I'll come back to you. See if you can figure out. Okay. Next up is Robert Merce. I think I saw him before. Yeah, I see your name, Mr. Merce, but I can't see or hear you at this point.
There we go.
There we go. Morning.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify this morning. Just a couple of quick points. Number one, the bail right now statewide is costing us about $175,000 a day. During the post-COVID period, it's probably going to go up to around $200,000 a day. This is going to be bill is going to be chipping away at that number and significantly reducing it, which I think everybody will be happy for. I think this is a first step toward what I hope will be complete elimination of our money bail system. But this is kind of a good first step, and it's also kind of a good test. And it would behoove us to collect some data during, let's say, the first year of this program, if it passes, so that we can make sure that it's working the way it should. I also think that if it does pass, we should get together sometime before it's implemented and work on ways to make sure it works, because the people who are affected most by this bill, we know are people, many of them from your district, who have trouble complying with the conditions, and that results in them being picked up again for a violation of the rules of release, and we want to stop that, and we can do that. During the COVID period, we got there was a group of us got together. We got $30,000 from an anonymous donor. We got cell phones for some of these people, which really helped a lot. So there are things that we can do to not just to pass the bill and say, oh, we hope it works, but to actually make it work once it gets passed. So thank you for introducing this bill, for setting this hearing, and I hope you will pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll try to go back to Mr. James Lindblad.
Am I on video?
I can hear you.
Audio?
I can hear you. You're good to go.
Okay, good to go. Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I'm here to share my experience and to participate in the process. My career began in 1973 as a pretrial worker. I interviewed and released at least 2,000 people on their own recognizance. I moved into bail in 1976. I released at least 25,000 people successfully on bail. My reason for moving to bail was my belief that the needy were not being served by public agencies. We denied release when we should have granted release. That was the reason I went into bail, and that's why I bailed out so many people successfully. Hawaii has a high-functioning pretrial process. There's about 18,000 people arrested by HPD annually, and at last count, January 31st, 2021, there was about 450 pretrial people at OCCC. That's a big drop. A huge drop. Much of that is attributable to Act 179, which of course I supported that too. I think that the AG testimony is relevant on this particular bill. I think the Office of the Prosecutor is relevant, and I'm very pleased to see the Public Defender's amendments to the bill, which I support all of those things. Last night on KHON TV, there was a Gina Mangieri report on catch and release. This is what I'm worried about, the incremental steps. We need to take incremental steps. We can't rush into these things. We can look at the mainland, we can see what's been happening over there. Much of this is described in my written testimony. My feeling is Senate Bill 1260 might be too much too soon, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything if amended properly. We don't want to rush into this thing. Bail agents like myself work for the large majority of people. I've invited everyone to my office and re-invite everyone that's listening here. If they want to come and see what a bail agent does, they can come to my office. We help families. We bail families, members out. Parents are my main customers. We're community-based, and that right to bail should not be interrupted. And that's addressed further in my testimony.
Okay. Thank you very much.
One more thing. I oppose detention for any purpose,
okay.
Mr. Chair. I think we shouldn't detain anyone. Period. We should release them rather than detain. Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Shannon Rudolph in support, Jesse Palmer in support, Martha Jenkins in support, Carla Allison in support, Nanea Lowe in support, Jennifer Noelani Ahia in support, Merle Hayward in support, Cheryl B in support, Dee Green in support. And then we have an entire page. Everyone's in support. The next page, the entire page is in support. The next page is about 80% full. Everyone's in support except for Tina Yamaki testifying for the retail merchants of Hawaii. And everyone else is in support. Members, questions for the witnesses that are here. I mean, the testifiers that are here. If not, I'll go ahead and start. Mr. Merce, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
So as part of your testimony, you included an op-ed that you'd written, I think, for was Civil Beat.
Yes.
And basically you argue that we should just get rid of cash bail entirely.
Right.
What if we did that, how would the process then work? I mean, everybody from a little kid from Hanabata days were used to seeing, you know, the Law and Orders and all the cop shows where they go in for arraignment and there's bail, there's a bail hearing. What would the process look like under your proposal to get rid of it entirely?
Geez, that's a good question. It's something that would have to be worked out. In connection with that op-ed that I wrote on March 10th, we're going to be having on the Civil Beat website a meeting with myself and a couple of other people, including a person from Illinois who was instrumental in getting their bail reform, which they just passed last week, completely eliminating it. And we're going to be learning a lot more about how they did it. They didn't do it right away. I think that's important. They developed the law, and then they put a 2-year implementation period to gear up to make sure it really works. And that's what I think would be kind of a good approach, is that we don't have all the details on how it would work. We don't have to sort it all out at once. What we need to do is to make the commitment to getting rid of money bail, and then develop the process in which to do it, and implement it as they're going to be doing over a period of time. So I think that's why 1260 is such a good bill, because it gives us the first step. We can collect data. We can see what we need to do to make sure it works, because as I said, it's really important to understand that a lot of the people, particularly the people I see in Chinatown, just don't know how to comply, even if there's conditions of release. But it would basically be a series of conditions that people would have to comply with, and a series of options that the judge could use. And if people are found to be dangerous, then those people would not be released.
There would still be so if once you're indicted, then you would have an arraignment hearing.
Right.
And instead of having it wouldn't be a bail hearing per se if there was no bail, but there would be a decision made by a judge as to whether or not they thought you were looking at whatever criteria we use. There are already criteria in the statute, but you're looking at those criteria probably, and maybe others. They would determine without relying on you being concerned that you're going to lose some money. They would decide whether you needed to stay pretrial or whether you could be released pretrial. Is that correct?
Exactly. And the jurisdictions that have either reduced or eliminated now, I think Illinois is the only state that's completely eliminated it. But they use risk assessment instruments. We have one here in Hawaii. It's got, I think, some serious flaws. And one of the things that I would really recommend is to take another look at that, because I think it does discriminate against poor people in terms of the criteria that it uses to determine what degree of risk you are for reappearing. But a new one has come out from the Arnold Foundation, which is apparently very, very good. Other jurisdictions are now adopting that because it was an algorithm to determine who is a high risk and who is a low risk for reappearing. And they tried to make it neutral so that it doesn't discriminate on the basis of race or color or wealth. And I think that's critical. But certainly in all the jurisdictions, particularly like San Francisco, where they haven't changed the law, it's just that they have a prosecutor who's not asking for bail. And they're relying very, very heavily on a risk assessment instrument to make that determination as to release or no release.
Are you aware, is there any data on whether bail actually works? Are people more likely to come back if they post bail, or is it, do you know? If you don't know, that's fine. I'm just
no. Well, the data in the op-ed from the 3 states that I cite indicates that 98% are returning for bail. Are returning without bail in the District of Columbia. And 98% are reappearing, I think it was.
But is there a correlation between posting bail and coming back, or is it just completely independent?
I think it must be independent because those people don't have any bail and yet they continue to return. They have a really good record of returning. So that's kind of I would say the experimental model, and the rest of the states would be the control model.
So I have a couple more questions, but members, anybody want to step in here and ask anything? Okay, I'll keep going. But you say other countries do not.
No.
Other countries use bail or cash bail or no?
Well, my understanding is that like there's Philippines does, the United States does, and we're among a very small group of 2 or 3 nations that still have a bail system, a money bail system.
So like Japan, for instance, or do you have any idea?
I don't know what they do, but I know they don't have a money bail system.
They don't have money bail. So, but they make some sort of determination, some judge or magistrate or something makes some kind of determination as to whether or not they're safe to let go before trial.
Yeah, I think so. But I haven't actually thought of looking at other countries that much. That's a good idea, and maybe that's something we can do over the coming year if we get started with this with the bill that you have written and introduced. I think it's a great first step.
Okay. All right. Thank you, members. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody who testified. Members, that's the only hearing bill we have today. So Matt or whoever's at IT today, can we go into a breakout room? I'm sorry, for those watching, we're going to go in for decision making, but I'm going to meet privately with the members for a few minutes to talk about decision making. Okay, coming back in to the public hearing for the decision-making on our 2 agendas today. First, we'll go with our 9:30 agenda, which had 1 bill on it, SB 1260, relating to criminal and pretrial reform. This bill eliminates the use of monetary bail and requires defendants to be released on their own recognizance for traffic offenses, violations, nonviolent petty misdemeanors, and misdemeanor offenses with certain exceptions. Recommendation here is to go ahead and move it on for further discussion, but I will put a delayed effective date on it of May 6, 2137. Members, questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members voting on SB 1260, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair Rhodes?
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Ocasio?
Aye.
Senator Gabbard?
Aye.
Senator Kim?
Aye.
Senator Lee?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Reservations.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Okay, well, that ends our 9:30 agenda. We'll move on to the 9:35 a.m. Decision-making agenda. First up on the 9:35 agenda is SB 4. SB 4 prohibits any law, ordinance, or rule from imposing an inclusionary zoning requirement on housing offered exclusively for sale in perpetuity to buyers who are residents of the state, are owner occupants, and who do not own any other real property. Recommendation on SB 4 is to go ahead and move it ahead, but with a delayed effective date, May 6, 2137. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Keokalole.
Members voting on SB 4, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting all members present, are there any reservations?
Reservations for me.
We have reservations for Senators Ocasio and Kim. Any other reservations? Any opposition?
Reservation.
Reservations for Senator Favela, so noted. Seeing no other reservations or opposition, Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 25. This permits minors to consent to medical care related to the diagnosis or treatment of HIV or the prevention of HIV. Provides that a minor under certain circumstances shall not be liable for payment for treatment or prevention of HIV. Recommendation on SB 25 is to pass with technical amendments, a delayed effective date, May 6, 2137, in a committee report. And in the committee report, we will raise some concerns about who's ultimately responsible for payment and if the provider can refuse treatment based on knowing the patient's inability to pay. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 25 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any opposition?
No.
Chair, no vote for Senator Gabbard. Any other reservations or opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up is SB 199. This mandates appointment of a guardian ad litem to represent the best interest of a mentally ill individual in assisted community treatment proceedings, and regarding an MH1 application, eliminates the need for Office of the Public Defender to participate in the proceedings. So because of the title, I'm going to recommend, so the title is related to assisted community treatment. I don't actually have a substantive problem with the previous chair's changes, but they don't fit under, some of them don't fit under the title. So I'm going to recommend that we delete the language that applied the appointment of a guardian ad litem to applications for emergency examination and hospitalization, as they're beyond the scope of the bill's title. And there are also technical amendments. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 199 SD1, the recommendation is to pass this measure with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up is SB 279 relating to marriage of minors. This requires that in the event of one of the respective parties to a marriage contract is a minor and the other party is more than 5 years older than the minor, the Child Protective Services Unit of the Department of Health and Services shall investigate and report to the family court of the circuit in which the minor resides before the marriage is approved. Recommendation here is to just add a delayed effective date, May 6, 2137. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 279 SD1, the recommendation is to pass this measure with amendments. Members, are there any reservations?
Reservations?
Reservations for Senator Gabbard? Any opposition? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 287. This requires the Department of Transportation and the counties to implement a Vision Zero program in Hawaii by July 1, 2022. Establishes a goal of no traffic fatalities or serious injuries by 2045. Recommendation here is to pass only with technical amendments. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Okolole.
Members voting on SB 287 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next up is SB 346. This requires farm owners or operators to confine egg-laying hens in accordance with the standards established in this measure. Effective 12/31/25 prohibits a business owner or operator from selling shell eggs or egg products that are produced by egg-laying hens that were confined in a cruel manner. Recommendation here is to pass with an amendment per the request of Hawaiian Egg Company's testimony. I'd like to delay the implementation date until June 30, 2027. Questions or concerns? Are you okay with that, Senator Gabbard? I think this came to you first. Yeah. You okay? Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 346 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any opposition?
No vote.
No vote for Senator Favela. Any other reservations or opposition? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up is SB 367. This waives the requirement for Section 401 water quality certification for certain small-scale beach restoration projects authorized by the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Recommendation here is to amend some of the description of the permitting process in the preamble, and there are technical amendments as well. Any questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 367 SD1, passing with amendments. Any reservations? Any opposition?
No vote for me on this bill, but the previous bill, I voted wrong. That was an aye for me on the previous bill.
Oh, yes on 346.
Yes, and then no on this one.
No on 367. Okay.
And no
Okay,
vote for
so on 36 and SB 367 SD1, we have no votes for Senator Ocasio and Senator Favela. Any other reservations or opposition? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next up is SB 386. This requires a family court to make findings after a hearing and in writing before a minor can be transferred to an adult jail or lockup or be permitted sight or sound contact with adult offenders. Recommendation in 386 is to pass with an amendment. There's a variation between the status hearings apparently between neighbor islands and on Oahu. So I'm going to recommend to the committee that we make it 30 days between status hearings in all locations, which shortens it I believe on the neighbor islands had 45 days currently. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 386, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 619. This amends provisions concerning fitness to proceed examinations in criminal proceedings to specify circumstances in which qualified advanced practice registered nurses or advanced practice registered nurses with prescriptive authority who hold an accredited national certification in advanced practice registered nurse psychiatric specialization may participate. Recommendation here is to pass with technical amendments only, but note for the members, it does have a bad effective date. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 619 SD1, passing with amendments. Are there any reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for Senator Kim. Any other reservations?
no vote.
Okay, any no votes?
No vote.
Any no vote? Okay, no votes for Senators Favela and Ocasio. Any other reservations or opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next up is SB 620. This authorizes advanced practice registered nurses to certify whether a person is totally disabled under the income tax code. Authorizes advanced practice registered nurses to make capacity determinations and adds advanced practice and registered nurses as primary providers and advanced mental health care directives. On this one, I'm going to defer it. The HB has already been voted on by the full House. So 620 is deferred. 664, relating to public safety. This requires the Department of Public Safety to develop the new Oahu Community Correctional Center. Recommendation here is to pass with a deferred effective date, May 6, 2137. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 664, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any noes or reservations?
No vote.
No vote for Senator Ocasio. Okay, seeing no other noes or reservations, Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to SB 670, relating to the employment of a minor, allows minors under the age of 16 to work in theatrical employment, provided that the employer procures a valid certificate of employment and the minor is accompanied by a parent guardian. Has some other provisions as well. Recommendation is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 670 SD1 passing unamended. Are there any noes or reservations?
Reservation.
Reservations for Senator Favela. Seeing none other, Chair recommendation adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up is SB 678, requires the representative of labor on the Hawaii Labor Relations Board to be a person selected by a simple majority of exclusive representatives of collective bargaining units, establishes procedures for removal of the representative of labor on the HLRB during the member's term by a simple majority of the exclusive representatives of collective bargaining units. Recommendation here is to pass unamended and noting that there's already a delayed effective date. And then in the committee report, we will put in some language about whether the removal provision is constitutional or consistent with removal procedures for other boards and commissions, and don't know the answer to that. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 678 SD1. The recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations?
It's
as is.
unamended.
I'm sorry.
It's just a committee report stuff. Yeah.
Passing unamended. Are there any reservations? Any opposition? Seeing none, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next up is SB 756. Authorizes each county to adopt ordinances to enforce section 29171, including the establishment of penalties for failure to comply with its requirements or make reasonable efforts to maintain electric vehicle charging stations in working order. Clarifies that certain enforcement officers may enter private property to enforce EV parking space violations. Requires new EV charging stations installed pursuant to the EV charging system requirement to be at least level 2 and internet capable. Change the EV charging equipped parking requirement per 100 stalls from 1 stall by 2012 to 5 stalls by 2025 and 10 stalls by 2030. Recommendation on SB 756 SD1 is to accept the Hawaiian Electric Amendment, which I guess I technically need prior concurrence from Senator Lee. It changes the phrase capable of connecting the internet to read network capable to be consistent with the rest of the chapter. You okay with that? Okay.
Sounds good.
That's the amendment. Questions or concerns? If not,
Yeah, do I have a conflict of interest if I have an electric vehicle? I'm just joking.
I suppose technically you do, but I think you're allowed to vote anyway. So,
Okay.
Senator Keokalole.
Members voting
I'm
on.
sorry to interrupt. So no, I think actually you don't because it's a class of people. So, vote away with a clear conscience. Senator Keokalole.
Members voting on SB 756 SD1. The recommendation is to pass this measure with amendments. Noting the disclosure of Senator Kim, are there any members with reservations?
I think Gabbard needs to disclose as well. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, seeing no opposition or reservations, Chair, recommendation adopted.
All right, thank you. Next up is SB 758, increases from 3 grams to 1 ounce. The minimum amount of marijuana the defendant must possess to be charged with a petty misdemeanor, and the maximum amount of marijuana the defendant convicted of possessing marijuana could have possessed without being disqualified from the subsequent expungement of the record of that conviction. Recommendation here is to change the 1 ounce to 30 grams. So it's 3 grams to 30 grams, which is slightly more than 1 ounce. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 758, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
All right, thank you, members. Next up is SB 905, requires the State Council on Mental Health to include an unspecified number of members with demonstrated knowledge of or work experience involving Native Hawaiian health practices. Recommendation here is to pass with just one amendment to put a delayed effective date on it of May 6, 2137. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 905, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any noes or reservations? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 936, requires employers to provide employees access to seizure first aid information specified by the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Recommendation here is to place the seizure first aid posting requirement in the general DLIR chapter, which is chapter 371. There's some technical amendments and that's it. But note also that there's already a defective date on the measure. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 936 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for Senator Ocasio? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up is SB 1270, replaces the Director of Human Services with the Administrator of the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, Department of Human Services, as an ex officio voting member on the Workforce Development Council. Recommendation is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 1270 passing unamended. Are there any reservations or opposition?
Reservations.
Reservations for Senator Favela? Otherwise, Chair, all members vote aye. Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 1311, requires the Department of Education to establish food waste and zero emission vehicle goals as part of the Sustainable Schools Initiative, requires an annual report to the legislature. Recommendation on SB 1311 SD1 is to pass with technical amendments only. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Keokolole.
Members voting on SB 1311 SD1, the recommendation is to pass unamended.
Technical amendments, sorry.
Technical amendments with amendments. I'm sorry. Members, are there any noes or reservations? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Okay, to the last item on the agenda, SB 1395. This requires the governor to appoint an individual to fill a vacancy within all boards and commissions within an unspecified period of time, requires that holdover appointments are limited to an unspecified period of time, thereby creating a vacancy at the end of the holdover period, requires department heads to inform the governor of any vacancy in any board or commission. With Senator Kim's acquiescence or support, I'd like to go ahead and fill in the PUCA. Can we make it 180 days for both of the situations involved? Okay. And so that would be the amendments, just making the, instead of having a blank period, it'll be 180 days. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Keokolole.
Members voting on SB 1395 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes our business for today. We have several agendas tomorrow. The big ones are joint with Ways and Means. I will see everybody later. Thank you.